What if being alone isn't your weakness, but your greatest weapon? We've been sold a lie. A beautiful, seductive, culturally engineered lie that whispers your life is incomplete without a partner. From childhood fairy tales to Hollywood blockbusters, from your aunt's probing questions at family gatherings to the endless scroll of happy couples on social media, the message is relentless: find someone, or be deemed somehow less. But what if the opposite is actually true? Consider this: every relationship demands a toll, not in a cynical, transactional way, but in a deeply human one. Your time, your emotional bandwidth, your dreams, or at least the timeline on which you pursue them, your mental energy, constantly recalibrating to accommodate another person's moods, needs, ambitions, and baggage. Are you truly getting back what you're putting in? Think about the compromises you've made, the movie you didn't want to see, the vacation destination you settled for, the career move you postponed because it didn't fit our plan, the friendships that quietly faded because you were always in couple mode. How much of yourself have you sacrificed on the altar of togetherness? If you've ever felt exhausted by love, you're not broken, you're overextended. The ancient Stoics had a radical solution to this predicament. They understood something that modern culture has conveniently forgotten: external validation is the enemy of inner peace. Epictetus wrote that we should not seek to have events happen as we wish, but to wish them to happen as they do. And what happens when your peace depends entirely on someone else's behavior? Chaos, dependency, a constant state of emotional hostage-taking. But here's what the Stoics also knew, and what most self-help gurus won't tell you. Solitude isn't a punishment. It's a gymnasium for the soul. When you're alone, you're forced to confront the person staring back at you in the mirror. No distractions, no emotional crutches, no one to blame for your unhappiness. Just you and the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are. And that's terrifying for most people, which is exactly why they run into relationships, not because they've found something beautiful, but because they're running from themselves. Let that sink in for a moment. How many relationships are fueled by mutual avoidance rather than mutual growth? If you can't be happy alone, what makes you think you can sustain happiness with someone else? Think about the pressure, the performance, the subtle erosion of your identity. You start using we so much that you forget who I is. You shape your hobbies around their interests. You adopt their friends, their politics, their weekend rituals. And slowly, imperceptibly, you become a supporting character in someone else's life. Is that what you signed up for? Let me be clear. This is not a bitter manifesto against love. Love can be magnificent. Love can be transformative. Love can be the most profound experience of human connection. But love should add to your wholeness, not fill a void you've mistaken for an emptiness. What we're talking about here is sovereignty, the profound, life-altering realization that you are enough. Not enough to attract someone, not enough to be chosen, just enough. Period, full stop. End of sentence. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to tell you. Relationships don't fix people. They reveal them. Your insecurities, they'll still be there. Your unresolved childhood wounds, still there. Your fear of abandonment, your need for approval, your desperate hunger for someone to tell you you're valuable, all of it, still there. The only difference is now you have an audience for your dysfunction, a witness to your unhealed parts. And eventually, that witness will get exhausted. Have you ever wondered why so many perfect couples quietly fall apart? Because they were never perfect. They were merely convenient. Two people using each other to avoid the terrifying work of becoming whole on their own. Now I want you to imagine something radically different. Imagine a life where your happiness is an internal thermostat, not an external weather report. Where your sense of purpose isn't dependent on someone else's approval. Where your direction is dictated by your own internal compass. Can you feel how different that would be? The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "All cruelty springs from weakness." And here's the connection. When you depend on others for your sense of self, you become weak, needy, manipulative without meaning to be. Co-dependent. You start bargaining. You start people-pleasing. You lose your spine. And the irony? That neediness actually repels the very love you're chasing. So what does the alternative look like? It looks like freedom. It looks like waking up on a Saturday morning with no obligations except to your own joy. It looks like traveling solo, because why wait for someone who may never come? It looks like starting that business, writing that book, moving to that city, without needing permission or partnership. It looks like becoming the protagonist of your own life instead of a supporting actor in someone else's. What would you do if you weren't waiting? This isn't about being anti-relationship. It's about being pro-you. It's about building a foundation so solid that you can welcome a partner as a companion, not as a savior, not as a healer, not as a completion, just as a fellow traveler on a road you're already walking with purpose. You are not incomplete. You are infinite in your potential. The Stoics called this concept ataraxia, a state of untroubled tranquility. And guess what? It's only possible when you stop outsourcing your emotional stability, when you stop making someone else responsible for your happiness, when you realize that the only person who can truly disappoint you is you. Are you ready to take that responsibility back? Because here's the truth they don't tell you in the rom-coms. Being single is not a waiting room. It's not a holding pattern. It's not a consolation prize. It is the training ground, the proving ground, the arena where you either discover yourself or lose yourself to the comfortable numbness of codependency. And if you've been feeling the quiet pull towards solitude, not loneliness, but solitude, maybe that's not a sign of failure. Maybe it's a sign of awakening, a signal that you're finally ready to meet the most important person you will ever know, yourself. So let's be honest with each other for a moment. Are you choosing relationships because you genuinely want connection, or because you're terrified of your own company? The answer to that question will determine the course of your life. I'm not suggesting you become a recluse. I'm not suggesting you swear off love forever. But I am suggesting that before you give yourself away to someone else, you owe it to yourself to fully inhabit your own skin. To know who you are when nobody's watching. To build a life so compelling that you'd be just fine if you lived it alone. Because only then can you actually choose a partner instead of desperately needing one. And that's the paradox. The more comfortable you are with being single, the better your future relationships will be. Because you'll no longer be driven by fear, you'll be driven by genuine connection, not by scarcity, but by overflow. You'll say no to things that don't serve you. You'll walk away from drama. You'll attract people who are also whole, not people looking for a crutch. And that's when love stops being a battlefield and starts being a garden. So if you're single right now and feeling the weight of that label, feeling like you should be somewhere else, with someone else, doing something else, I want you to pause, breathe, and ask yourself one question. What if the greatest love story of your life isn't about finding someone, but about finding yourself? This is the message that changes everything. Because once you realize you are already whole, you stop looking for halves. You stop settling. You stop begging. You start living. If this message resonated with you in any way, let me ask you something. Hit that like button if you're ready to stop waiting and start living. And if you want more content like this, ideas that challenge the way you see yourself and the world, make sure you're subscribed to MindForge. We're building something here, something grounded in ancient wisdom for modern lives. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to think differently. And remember, you are not incomplete. You are infinite.